How did the American dream die? How did the middle class die? I'm going to tell you, it started in the 1980s with trickle-down economics that did not work. They decided to give tax cuts to the rich and corporations saying that money would trickle down. It didn't. It just made the rich richer. Then we greenlit stock buyback. So instead of when the productivity was going up, instead of giving workers more money, they just bought back their stocks so that the shareholders could make profit and the executives could get bonuses. Then we had leverage buyouts, and the government didn't regulate leverage buyouts, and that was the start of private equity basically buying up everything so that they could make more money. Then we moved away from pensions to 401ks, which essentially just took the responsibility and accountability of the company to take care of their workers with the retirement and put it on to individuals, but we were never taught economics in high school, so how the fuck are we supposed to know about compound interest and investing? But they said the 401k was better than the pension when it wasn't. Then they started shipping our jobs overseas, building the middle class of other countries so that they could make more profit, destroying the middle class here. Then we started ramping up the borrowing money and getting into debt as a country, which devalues our dollar. And then in 2008, we had predatory lending, which crashed the housing market, fucked over so many Americans. And then we used taxpayer money to bail out the banks. And when all the houses were cheap, the rich went and bought those up. And that's when you started to see the rent start to increase around the 2010s into the 2015s. And then in 2011, we allowed super PACs to exist. So billionaires can now buy elections, and they use that money on attack ads, which divides the country. Divide and conquer, and that's what they did. In 2020, we had the pandemic, which both sides of the aisle handled like absolute shit, shut down all small businesses, all the money went to the top, the rich got richer, they printed trillions of dollars more, which people needed, but what did all the people do? We spent the money because we needed to spend the money, and where did that money go? To the top, and they got richer. And lastly, they decided during the pandemic, let's lower the interest rates on buying a home to 2.5% to 3% so that people could refinance and get ahead. But no, all that really did was give the green light to a bunch of rich people to basically borrow free money and buy up all the fucking housing so that we can no longer own a home. And that all ended in 2021. Then we've experienced 25% inflation since the pandemic. And here we are in 2025, and we no longer have a middle class, and the American dream is dead.
You know that the U.S. poverty line is actually more closely a measure of starvation than poverty? In the 1960s, an economist for the Social Security Administration named Molly Orshansky devised a formula that she believed would be able to capture the minimum amount of income a family of four needed in order to live a nutritionally sound life. Orshansky took a couple of things into consideration. In the 1950s, which is the period that she was kind of looking at while she was making these calculations, she noticed that most American families spent about 1/3 of their income on food. Based on something called the Economic Food Plan from the USDA, and because she noticed that 1/3 of income was spent on food, she took that Economic Food Plan price from the USDA and multiplied it by 3 to come up with what she believed would be an accurate poverty line, a measure of poverty. Well, that doesn't work anymore, because now Americans spend much more money on food and healthcare. A much higher percent of their income goes there. But did you know that there was a recent study that said that actually that's more of a measure of starvation, and that the true poverty line in this country for a family of four should be closer to $140,000 a year. The official poverty line threshold for a family of four in this country is $32,000 a year. Let that sink in. You can't budget your way out of something like that. You just can't.
You always have people in the comments, and even, finance influencers saying things like, well, a lot of you make enough money, you just spend too much money on your new phones every year and your new shoes, and you eat out and buy coffee every morning. And even in some of my comments, like the last 3 videos, I've had comments like that. At the end of the day, the way I see it, yes, you might have a $40, electricity, a $20 phone bill. You might cut your expenses and not have to live the life you grew up into, and you found a way to be minimalistic. End of the day, not everybody should have to do that.
Gen Z can't afford to move out of their childhood bedrooms. And this is not theoretical. This is now the Wall Street Journal reporting on this. And it's being echoed in my comments like this one. I love being 26 years old, having a full-time job and a master's degree, and still living at my parents' house. Our parents built their lives in an economy where one job and one mortgage could secure a home. Now, Gen Z graduates at the top of their class are sending out hundreds of job applications, getting a full-time job, and still are not able to make enough to move out of their parents' house. Because rent, unexpected expenses, and healthcare costs are draining every cent from paychecks before the next month even starts. Even the parents are reporting the same thing to the Wall Street Journal. There is no way that she could afford to move out. Housing costs are skyrocketing. Healthcare is a financial trap. Entry-level jobs are demanding years of experience, and wages are just not keeping pace. So from a very honest perspective, young adults are not failing. but the system is definitely failing them.
Someone please explain to me why the minimum wage isn't equivalent to the minimum cost of living. Like, isn't that the point of a minimum wage, is that it's the bare minimum? And isn't the bare minimum survival? And I know a lot of you are going to say, oh, I make minimum wage and I do just fine. I have housing, I have savings, I have all these things. Were you never relying on your family for anything? Have you never lived with your family as an adult? Have you never had their support? Because the state of this economy right now, and especially with how bad the job market is that most young people, most of Gen Z cannot get by without support from their family. Most of us are depending on our family for housing, for additional money support. Even when we have our own jobs, our lives are often dependent on other people helping us. Things are so bad for Gen Z and for millennials in this economy that the vast majority of us are dependent on the inheritances of our grandparents and of our parents to have any hope at ever having financial stability. That's where we're at. And the other piece of where we're at is that 40 to 60% of homeless people in America are employed. And imagine how much higher that percentage would be if people were all kicked out of their house automatically at the age of 18. If people were not allowed to get support from their family for housing, for money, we would all be homeless. Being able to have support from your family, to be able to live with your family, is a privilege as an adult, and it shouldn't have to be. It shouldn't have to be that that's the only way that we can live.
I'm an American. I pay $1,600 USD every month for my rent, but for some reason people think that means I make a lot of money. A lot of people in different countries don't realize that $1,600 in the United States for rent, that's not wealthy. That's the cheapest rent you can get. I see a lot of comments saying that, oh, well, that $1,600, I would be rich in my country. You probably would. $1,600 USD in your country might be worth a lot of money. But here, that gives me the back half of a garage. It's 200 square feet. That's the best I can get. And you see, after all my taxes get taken out of my paycheck, that means that my rent ends up being about 2/3 of what I make in a month. That means the only money that I have left for food is just a little bit. God forbid if I have to go to the doctor's office. I don't got insurance for that. So that's going on the credit card, which means my debt is inching closer and closer and closer to maybe I'll just die instead of going to the hospital next time. Like, why would I lie about how broke I am? If anything, I would want to pretend like I'm filthy rich. Right? Weird.
So I was just out on a walk right now, and check out these homes next to this path that I'm on. I was looking these homes up on Zillow, and you're looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of $615, $625, $650 in some cases for these really tiny houses. I mean, they're not very big. You can see the properties they're sitting on are tiny, and yet people want $650,000 for these homes at what, 6.25% interest rates? Like, no wonder nobody can afford anything.
This is a neighborhood in California. This isn't downtown LA. This is a neighborhood where families live, where houses in this neighborhood range from around $800,000 to $900,000. And this is what the people wake up to every day. No longer can their little kids ride their bikes on the sidewalks. No longer can people walk their dogs or elderly people go for a walk because their sidewalks are full of this. Along with this, not only is it dangerous, but it is not sanitary. Where do these people go to the bathroom? Well, they go to the bathroom outside in the streets. So people are walking literally through human poop. Also, people have propane tanks. Fires have been caused because of these encampments. The city does nothing about it. The neighbors have complained over and over again, but nothing is done. Can you imagine if this was built in Gavin Newsom's neighborhood, in Nancy Pelosi's neighborhood, in Mayor Karen Bass's neighborhood? They wouldn't stand for this for one bit. But the people here, they have to live with it. No one does anything about it. The encampments continue to get larger and larger and larger. This is Gavin Newsom's California, and the people here that live in this neighborhood, they want their life back. They want their cities and streets cleaned up.
I want to show you guys something. I live in my car, right? Let me show you the situation. All right, I live in Silicon Valley, right? And let me show you just a street that I'm walking on. Luxury apartments, right? Condominium type, really luxury style. These are like 30 to 40% full. Because companies like Essex, Prometheus, things like that, they're going around telling their investors that people can afford 4, 5, 6 grand a month for apartments. And you know what people are doing? They said no. They said no. I'm not paying that. Absolutely not. So that's the bubble that's about to pop, is these companies telling investors, Prometheus, Essex, real estate companies telling investors that people can afford 4 or 5 grand a month when they can't. And especially now with inflation and the way that things are going, they're really not going to be able to afford it. So yeah, that's the type of protest that people are putting now. They're just refusing to pay the ridiculous prices.
I've seen a lot of TikToks lately about people complaining about how hard it is to live in America and everything's more expensive and it's a third world country with a Gucci belt. And I just want you to know one thing. You are not crazy. That is fact. We rank 25th in the world for economic freedom, 129th in global peace, the land of the 15th freest, 15th, 17th for quality of life, 20th for gender equality, 18th for healthcare. But we spend more than anybody else. We have the lowest life expectancy for men and women of any country with a high GDP. We rank second to last in childcare quality, 29th in work-life balance, no surprises there. Pay attention, because this is a weird one. The scale for this one says that the number 1 country has the highest rate of poverty. What that means is 54 countries have a lower poverty rate than the richest country in the world. We do, however, rank number 1 in a few places. We are absolutely killing the game in the cost of college. Number 1, baby! And you can always rest assured that you live in the richest country in the world, except that the richest 10% own 70% of the wealth and the bottom half are fighting over 2.5% of it. What I'm trying to say is if you feel like you're struggling just to survive right now and this seems like a bunch of bullshit, it's because it is a struggle to survive right now and it is a bunch of bullshit.
I left America 5 years ago to live abroad and travel the world, and I returned last December. So now I've been here officially for 1 year, and this is everything I have learned and everything I just know to be true about America. America's a third world country. And if you don't understand that, if you're like, oh my God, that's not true, why would you say that? There are countries that are actual third world. America's a third world country. It's just like think about America as like shitty, like shit, right? They took shit, they put it in a box, they made it really pretty, they gave you a really cute bow, and they handed it to you, and you're like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. That's America. It's a third world country. Yeah, everyone's suffering here, but because the infrastructure looks okay, because of entertainment, because of whatever, it seems like everyone's doing okay. Nobody's doing okay. Credit score does not exist really anywhere outside of here. Other countries have credit score, but it's not like you take your credit score from America and you can take it to other countries and they care. They don't really care. If you have the money in other countries, you spend it. If the house costs $1,000 a month and you can afford it, you just get the house and you pay it. Nobody's gonna come ask you for your arm and a leg. It's not that serious. What else? Work-life balance, non-existent, not a thing here. This country is literally you work, and then you're gifted with death. Love it.
Hot take. The United States is just a really overpriced, expensive third world country that doesn't even have good food. Like, at least when you go to third world countries, you know, like in Southeast Asia or South America, they've got good food and they got culture and they got family values. You ever hang out with people from Southeast Asia and South America? The nicest, warmest people in the ever. And then you go to the United States, it's like, oh my God, the food trash and it's expensive and no one's gonna hug me? What the fuck?
Welcome to the land of the free 2025. Do we have free healthcare? No. Free accommodation for the elderly? Absolutely not. Do we have free housing for the homeless? Absolutely not. Do we have free education? No. Do we have free food? No. So wait, what's free? Oh, you're free to live the way you want, but everything else is extremely expensive. Sorry.
I don't know who's out here living the American dream, but I can tell you one person who isn't, and that's me. I have 4 kids and I'm working 3 jobs and I'm still struggling. I have my full-time job, I'm a 911 dispatcher. My other 2 jobs, a waitress. The American dream should not be this hard. I should not have to be working my life away, being away from my kids. You know, sometimes I have to pick. Am I going to pay my electric bill or am I going to buy groceries? Because my kids need to eat. This is not the American dream. I'm so tired of struggling. You know, so many people are going to work, working multiple jobs just to pay for a house to sleep in, just to put their head down at night. This is not the American dream, not my American dream. That's why I started posting here on TikTok. So hopefully I can slow down some so I can spend time with my kids. Life shouldn't be this hard. I know one person that's making 6 figures and they're still struggling. Why's it gotta be so hard? Anyways, if you want to help this mama out from struggling, you know what to do. I'm headed into work to work at Buffalo Wild Wings today. I have to work a double. Say a prayer, I make some money.
You say, they literally say things like, and you think you shouldn't have to, minimalize your lifestyle. That's why you're going to end up staying behind. No, you got brainwashed. you got brainwashed to thinking you should have to minimalize your lifestyle to be able to afford to live. Because I should not have to work 3 times as hard as my grandparents to have 3 times less. And before you say, oh, you do not work 3 times harder, they had to fight in the wars and work in the warehouses. Like I say, almost every video, my great grandpa could have graduated high school. He didn't need a college degree. He didn't need a experience. He probably didn't even need a fucking ID. He could have walked into a warehouse, got a job, took care of him, got a wife, 2 kids, 3 kids, 2 dogs, 2 houses, a car, vacation every year off of that one warehouse job. And then that same warehouse job paid for his insurance, paid for his pension, paid for his everything, all the benefits in the world. And you're going to sit here and tell me that I just need to fucking go get a better education? You just need a better education. You just need to spend $7,000 a year. School in Florida only costs $7,000 a year. Bite your pride. That's what one of the comments in one of my videos say. You need to bite your pride. School in Florida only costs $7,000 a year. You just need to work harder. Fucking idiots, man. Boomers. There's always an old person saying some dumb shit like that.